So 5 is super creamy.
Super creamy.
4 is very creamy.
Yeah.
3 is creamy.
Okay.
2 is milky.
Hello and welcome to Whipped Cream Sam, and I am your host, Ronnie Sanchez. Joined with me, as always, my co-noodle boy, Brian Bastanza. Brian.
Soon to be Wiener boys.
Soon to be Wiener boys. He beat me to it. I've been thinking about this. We have set aside our dreams of becoming noodle boys, and we're diving into the world of being Wiener boys.
Yeah.
Brian, would you please elaborate?
It's really exciting. No, we got invited by a friend, Alex McKenna, shout out, to go to the Dreamville Festival in Raleigh and serve hot dogs and wings, probably. I'm not even sure if that's set as far as I think he just got word and he was like, hey, I definitely need a bunch of back of the house people to do stuff. Are you interested? The text went out to Sam and I was like, I'm super interested for sure. One, because I think that festival is really cool. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's J. Cole, Dreamville record company, whatever. Should be some I think J. Cole will be there. I think J.I.D. will be there. I think Earth Gang will be there. I think it'll be fucking sick. Probably some people that I've never heard of. Probably a lot of people I've never heard of, but excited about that. Also just excited to slang some wieners with the boys,
Yeah. How do you know this? Was Alex is his name?
Alex. Yeah, Alex. Sam knows Alex from Charleston.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've known Alex for a little bit now, a few years for sure. If not not that we go to Charleston so often, but we hang out.
And he's a cook or a chef, I'm assuming.
He does a lot of these festival things, and
okay.
He'll be down at Bonnaroo doing slanging food with I don't know what the company is, or I think it's just I think it's a pretty small company, but they do some festivals, and so he's run little parts of the thing, because I think at Bonnaroo they do a few different things, serving different types of food, and he's participated in all of that. And then the text that I got was oh, this is the first one that I get to run fully by myself. Do you guys want to fuck with it? So yeah, super fucking cool. I think it'll be really fun.
Yeah, no, I definitely jumped at the opportunity to work with you. I didn't know what we were making at first, but sure, wieners, let's do it.
Sounds fun. It'll be a fun boys weekend. We'll come down, we'll hang out. I might take that Monday off, honestly.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, maybe we can have some fun Sunday night and then take the day off Monday. Yeah, it'll be great. Cool.
Yeah, my the restaurant project actually got delayed a little bit, so I don't have a hard date of when it's going to open, but maybe it'd be a good time for me to take a Monday off too. We'll have to see. Right Dylan's listening to this right now, going, "What the fuck? You can't take that Monday off," but I might. I'm telling you right now, I might.
I think they still need people.
Yeah.
Dylan wants to get involved.
Yeah, maybe we both
y'all talk amongst yourselves. Yeah. Everyone takes the day off. Maybe the whole country will take that day off.
Yeah, a couple boys, couple wieners.
Yeah.
Maybe a few wings.
How many wieners do you think you could fit in your mouth, Ronnie? Regular kind of I don't know, I'm trying to think. I guess Johnsonville, the short guys, how many of those? You don't have to fit the whole thing in, but just
the same time or consecutively?
No, same time. How many?
I'm gonna stick with one. I'm a one wiener kind of guy.
Well, I know for a fact you can fit more than one wiener in your mouth. I was gonna say, I could probably get 6 in there.
So it's a family-friendly podcast.
Look at that.
Brian's demonstrating how wide he can open his mouth.
I think 6. Not with
Do
not with
you have a
puns.
drink over?
I meant single puns.
You have a drink over there?
I forgot it, but I'll be right back. Ooh.
Whoa.
Ooh. Little sploogy over there.
A little sploogy. Now I'll be right back. All right.
After
We're back.
after a few weeks of me just being full trash, getting whatever I can find out of the back of the fridge. A couple
toilet
Trulies
hooch?
in there. Yeah. I'm back on my fancy game.
Okay.
And I have a Deep River limoncello. It is a tart.
What even is that?
It's a tart ale brewed with lemons.
Okay.
Is it a sour? Sounds like it could be in that
Could be
category, but
sour
I'm not
adjacent.
not really even sure what a sour is. Sour though.
I've got a good old fashioned Guinness.
I saw that. That's cool.
It exploded all over me as I opened it.
You're going straight out of the can.
Nope.
Oh, you got a glass. You got a glass.
Got me a glass.
Nice. Like that. Love that for you.
As is recommended. I'm not usually a big fan of stout, but every once in a while, Guinness calls my name. And you think that they're like heavy. They're not. They're
not.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
And actually they're like lower in calories than most beers. And because they're a nitro beer, they don't like fill you up like a standard lager would or something.
I never really thought about that. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. The color makes you think that they're really heavy.
Right. Super dark, obviously. Yeah. But like, I mean, every other stout I've had is like 12%.
Yeah. I don't even know what this is. Probably like
4, right?
4.1. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice. Yeah. It's only 125 calories.
Nice.
So
proud of you.
I'm getting thin over here.
Be careful. Might just wither right away.
Just blow away. I turn sideways. You might not see me.
This is really good. Kind of tastes like a lemonade, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, more tart than that. You know, see the graphic?
Yeah.
It's a little lemon playing a cello.
A cello.
Limoncello, you know? Cello, you have a bass.
That is cute. Yeah, I was telling you, I got the day off today because it snowed. So, North Carolina, we got a little bit of snow. Shut it all down. Although it was a pretty decent amount of snow. I mean, for North Carolina standards, it was like 3.5 inches.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good. We probably got
what
like
are you
an
guys
inch.
getting over there?
Like probably, maybe. It was yesterday. It snowed like actual big snowflakes, and I was like, oh, it's been a really long time since I've seen that. But it didn't accumulate a ton, but I was in the office, and by the time I got out of the office, it was pretty much all gone. Everyone was obviously freaking out. That was there. Yeah. Careful. If you guys feel unsafe, you can leave at any time. Like, I would have been fired so many times if this deterred me from going to work.
Yeah.
Not at my current
job. I haven't been at work in a month or so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear the dog? She's going crazy. She's not pleased right now.
What's she fired up about?
Well, so a little more update. I kind of said it last week, but I am moved into our master bedroom as the studio now, in my little tiny office corner. Makes it challenging where I used to be able to like put Emma downstairs while we recorded, now everything's on the ground floor. So I have her locked in the bathroom in the front over there, which is pretty tiny. And she just knows that we're having fun, honestly, and she wants to be hanging out with the boys.
She's locked up.
Yeah. Cause I mean, she's so loud. That's the problem. Not well, right now she's barking because she's a little upset probably, but she's just a loud dog, and she snorts, and she she snores and she makes like kind of sounds sometimes, you know, and it's just like not super conducive to putting out quality podcasts, I wouldn't say. But so, you know, and she doesn't let. I'm like, you have to be quiet if you're going to be in the record session, and still just stuff like that, you know.
I think if we took a vote, I think that the listeners would appreciate the Emma snorts.
Oh, you think so?
I think so.
Okay, next time.
I'm gonna bring her in. We'll have her on as our guest on the next episode.
Our guest, okay.
She do a draft.
She's a good eater, not good at cooking.
No.
Yeah. Without thumbs, it's tough.
It would make it a little difficult. Yeah,
it's a little tough. I will give her
a hard time reaching the countertops too. So.
Yeah. I mean, if we got her like a kitchen on the floor, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think I would eat her food, to be honest.
I mean, she licks her own ass, so
she doesn't wash her hands. She's gonna taste something. She's gonna eat the whole thing.
Oh man. Yesterday, Rochelle had roasted a whole chicken, and I'm breaking down the chicken, and Stevie's in the kitchen with me. Stevie's my dog, for the listeners, and I'm breaking down this chicken, and it's piping hot, right? And as I'm like breaking it down, I can like flip it over, and it's, you know, it's done, so it's fall apart tender, and I pull off one of the drums, and as I do it, the thigh just pops off also, and it's a small bird, but the whole thigh popped off, fell off the counter, and Stevie just like gobbled it up, and she doesn't chew anything, she just swallowed the whole chicken thigh,
the bone,
bone in, yep.
Jesus.
But she didn't chew it up, so it's not all splintered up or anything, but yeah, not ideal. But it happened so quick that I looked down and I was like, where the fuck did that go? And then I'm looking at her kind of like, I mean, she was struggling a little bit because it was so damn hot, because it just came out of the oven. It'd been sitting on the countertop for like, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe. It was piping hot. And she took down that thigh really quickly. Not ideal, but she's doing great.
We had we were doing, I think this is the time that we did the turducken in Squaw Valley, and we were living with Adam Thatcher. You remember Adam?
Yep.
He was the F&B director for a little bit, but before that, he was just the head of the Gold Coast. That's when we all worked together.
Yeah.
And I moved in with him, and he had this big old, I think it was a Tibetan Mastiff. It's like a 150-pound dog. Big dog, Harvey.
Yeah.
Great dog. I love that dog. We used to wrestle quite a bit, but we like made this turducken, and I don't know, standard turducken, whatever. But we left the bone. There was a carcass because we kind of like deboned the turkey, but like left all the legs on it and everything, right? So there was like a carcass left of it, and we were like sit down, eat dinner, come back over to like start cleaning up, and like the carcass is nowhere to be found.
Oh God!
Like, what?
The dog ate the whole carcass?
It wasn't too far. It was on the ground over there, but this dog just hopped right up on the table, grabbed that fucking carcass, and just started mowing down on it.
God,
not great. Not a great situation.
No, I mean,
great dog though.
Yeah, it's never a good thing. You take your dog out on a walk or something, and then you look away from 1 second, and you're like, what are you eating? And it's like, oh, somebody's discarded chicken wings are on the ground. It's like, no, like, how many did you just pull down? Yeah, not ideal.
6 or 7. Yeah, it's super good. Just straight cartilage, probably. That's nice.
And bones.
Yeah,
that's what you worry about. But
we're starting to be good Samaritans and walk around the neighborhood with a trash bag once a week. That's our new initiative in our household, is to kind of. Well, it's like one thing to like just be, because sometimes I'm just bitter about it, and I'm just like,
100%.
Why people fucking get off my lawn, stop throwing shit, like, and it is warranted. I don't want people to litter around, but maybe being part of the solution is a little better of an approach than just being upset about it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. My last apartment, Rochelle saw it. She was inside the house, and some college kid walks up to the edge of the parking garage, and then it like drops off, and it just like opens up to woods back there. And he had like a whole like beer box or something full of empties and bottles and shit, and he just poured it over the edge, just into the woods. It was like 12 cans or whatever. It's like pissed me off. And then I was up there stomping around for a couple hours because now I look outside my window and I see all this trash. So yeah, I went down and cleaned it up. But yeah, I hate that. That's the worst. And I too will like pick up things around the neighborhood if I see them. But thankfully, their neighborhood's fairly clean. But yeah, good job. Good on you.
Sometimes you don't want to touch stuff though either, you know? Like
No, you
you have to be
definitely don't.
prepared. Like, because I don't want to just like go down the street and just start picking up like styrofoam containers and fucking chicken wings off
Yeah.
the ground. That's like, I don't know. That's how you catch something. I think that's how you get AIDS.
I don't. Well, it depends. You could maybe if it cut you. I don't know.
Yeah, don't want that. I heard that
No.
that's bad. So,
But anyway, we're a food podcast, and all. Have you you cooked anything this weekend? Or this past week,
yeah,
I should say.
yeah. I did some braised chicken. I did it with I had a whole chicken, broke it down. I did make some stock. I feel like a little bit of a broken record because I kind of just get on this program and just, it's I kind of do. I do the same thing.
Just
I
play
do
the hits.
Yeah, I mean, I do variations on the thing, and this time I did like I had some canned chipotles, so I had that, some canned tomatoes that I kind of crushed up with my hands, not the whole can or anything, just like a little tomatoey, and then it's kind of like mostly like chicken stock, and seasoned up the bird and roasted that off pretty hard, and kind of did a little braise with that. Added some olives to it. It was kind of just like a like a stewed chicken kind of, in this kind of dark sauce. It was pretty good. I actually really liked it. Yeah, so nothing too fancy. I had it with a little. Ooh, the other night I had a little leftovers, and I had some fresh Maz. I threw that on top of that, melted that up real good. That was a pretty good time, man. Yeah. It's nothing super excited to write home about, but I do. I'll play the hits a little bit, like you said.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And no, that sounds good. I kind of played the hits a little bit too. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, I did that pork tonkatsu, and this week I did the chicken katsu. But a little spin on it is that one of the guys at work, he brought in some like katsu curry sauce that he had made at the other restaurant he worked at. So he was nice enough to bring in a quart of that, and so we did some chicken curry katsu, and it was just, that was really good. That was really solid.
That's really good. And did we talk about it on the pod? Because was it last week, or maybe it was even 2 weeks ago? We were talking about katsu, and I listened back to the episode, and we were talking about this eggy dish where you have the crispy chicken, and it's called katsu dan. I don't think we talked about it. Same start of the dish, right? You are like making, if it's chicken, you're like doing breaded chicken, panko, and then the way you kind of finish it is in a liquidy, like a broth, and then you crack like this egg on top of it, and you don't scramble the egg. You let it just kind of, maybe you crack the yolk, but you don't really scramble it, and you kind of get this, like some whites and some yolks and all over it, and like it's a really fun dish. It's really cool.
It's kind of a crazy way to finish a dish.
Yeah, it's a weird, like, because the question that I had, and I think most people have, is like, well, didn't you just fucking do all this work to make this crispy chicken?
Right.
Like, why are you sogging it out so hard? Which is a fair question, but it really, like, I don't know, it's kind of nice. It's kind of like this, like, this softy, bready kind of dish, and all together on top of rice with the broth and the egg and the chicken, and it's a good time for sure. And it doesn't have that katsu sauce though. It is the broth is the dish.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because it does seem like you plate the whole dish and it looks like it's like finished, like, okay, now it's ready. And then you pour raw egg on the top of it. And then like, like, wait, what happened? I thought we were done. But yeah, when you, after that episode, yeah, you sent me the video of what is it? Katsudon?
Katsudon, yeah.
Katsudon. You sent me the video like right after the pod, and I watched it and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I made. And then he pours egg over the whole plate. And I was like, wait a second. What the fuck? But to your point about like, why would you like sog it out after you like fried and got this like nice crispy? But if you think about it, it's no different than like a chicken parm where you're frying the cutlets and then, pour it on your gravy and your mozz on that. So
Sure.
Very similar in that respect. But also sometimes like those spots of the chicken parm where the breading is kind of soggy with the sauce and the cheese, it's kind of some of the best bites of it, right?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
So
chicken parm. Shout out chicken parm.
so
I mean, all
good.
those like kind of classic Italian American dishes where it's like breaded and then sauced up pretty hard. Even like piccata and
Masala, the same way.
masala. Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, maybe not the same because it's not really.
It's just flour. Those are just dredged, right? But
yeah.
you do kind of with the just simple like dredging recipes. You do promote that same thing. I mean, I really like those dishes. I mean, obviously, but but just because like the dredged chicken can like add as this like subtle thickening agent to the sauce.
Yeah.
You do dredge it and then you do saute it, but like still when you put it into the sauce, it does act to like thicken up that sauce. And then all those dishes you finish the meat in the sauce, right? So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
100%. A little sogged out is okay.
I like it.
Soggy bottom, boys. That's what they used to call me in high school. Just me.
Well, anyway, in the restaurant front, I've been balls deep in doing food costing. I had a big meeting with one of our purveyors today, and they kind of walked us through some of their like food costing software. And yeah, not the best part about being a chef, I'll tell you. Sitting down and doing the paperwork when they tell you that it's going to be fun. That's not the part that they're talking about.
It's tiny. The fun part's tiny.
The fun part is very
Let's
tiny.
be honest with it.
Everyone wants to be a chef until you got to do chef things.
There's fun pieces, obviously, every day.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't say the fun part's tiny. I should say that the creative part, the stuff that like really jazzes up someone to get into the industry, is tiny at times.
Yeah.
So
can definitely feel that way.
How to feel like looking at some of the numbers and some like, so you have a product list presumably, and you're kind of looking at that and you're using those numbers to design your dishes, right?
Yeah. I mean, so part of what I'm doing right now is setting up for the transition out of the spot that we're at now, to set up whoever's going to be there afterwards. Really, it's a lot of work that probably should have been done earlier, but I mean, the restaurant still hasn't even been open for a year. So, just growing pains, and also, new, I don't know. I've only been there for so long, and me and Dylan have only been running it together for kind of a short period of time. So certain things are already in place before we really got a hold of things. So it just kind of growing pains. It is what it is, and also we're just growing as a whole, as the company and the restaurant. So definitely just getting up on these things. I mean, it's all obviously all important stuff, and also just this new software that we're using for it. It just helps keep track of everything. When their purveyor changes their prices on things, it automatically reflects in our food cost calculators and stuff. So there's some like cool software built into it, and like cool tech built into it, I should say, into the software. But yeah, just you just got to build it all out. Just and when you're starting from scratch, it's a lot to do. As things change and you add, a couple new dishes, it's only a handful of recipes that you're adding in, or whatever. But from the beginning, it is a lot. It is kind of daunting.
Especially with an operation like that, right? Like we're not talking about a regular restaurant menu where you have, like a few salads, a few soups, a couple apps, and then an entree menu. Like we're talking about like, well, I guess is it that much bigger in variation? How many dishes do you think you will sell, or different pickups you think you'll have?
You're talking about the new spot?
Yeah. Oh well, I guess you're talking about the old spot, so it is a regular restaurant menu ish.
Yeah. But yeah, once we transition over to the other spot, I mean, it's basically like 5 different restaurant concepts, or like that's kind of how we're breaking it up. It's like 5 different stations, and each one is a different concept. So, but yeah, kind of breaking it up into each individual spot, sort of as its own restaurant in a way, just to make it easier to digest.
Sure.
The picture of it, so, but yeah, it's the one cool thing about the software is as you're building each of these things, it gets easier as it goes, because whether it's like a proprietary ingredient, say like a house blend seasoning or something, once you've gotten that built out, and then you can go into your other recipes and say like 2 tablespoons of that, and it's kind of already built in, so it does get easier as you start building them out. But yeah, just building out that infrastructure from scratch, it takes a while.
I got a question for you for the new spot.
Okay.
You doing soups?
Yeah, definitely. It's the money maker.
What's your first soup of the day?
I mean, to start, I'd really thought just a classic like tomato bisque with like a grilled cheese or something. We could have like multiple. But I mean, soups are your money makers. That's where you take all your scraps and turn them yesterday's leftover, say, chicken from the taco bar could be tortilla soup tomorrow.
Sure.
Utilize ingredients that would otherwise go to waste. And if you were listening to this and you didn't realize that that's what restaurants do, and not all of them do that all the time, but sometimes soup of the day is a soup of the day for a reason, I should say.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that I hope we're not putting like a connotation on it. That means it's like
bad or old.
No, that's not it at all. It's just like good quality, like just the way to, I think the restaurant industry, like if you're going to be successful, you have to find ways to, tip the scale a little bit in your favor, because it's hard. The margins are tight. And so when you can be creative in that way of like how to use your ingredients and how you can minimize waste, that's the meat and potatoes of being a successful chef.
And also like the leftovers, it doesn't necessarily mean like you've cooked that off and it's sat in a steam well all, for service. And then tomorrow that's what gets used for a staff meal. What I'm more referring to is like, you bought a case of chicken thighs for, say, a catering, and you cooked off, it was for 20 people, and so you had 45 thighs in the case, so you cooked off 30 and you have 15 left over. How are you going to utilize that? Well, maybe it's a chicken tortilla soup.
Yeah.
I'm just ready for it to open, to be honest with you.
Yeah. All right. Are you feeling that way? You're feeling antsy?
Yeah, it's just, the like, will they, won't they kind of dance in between. Like, they're just going through like all the negotiations and stuff right now. So
it's just still your boss is still in negotiation.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's just all the lawyers and everything else, they all just have to come to terms and agreements on everything. It's a big project. So there's a lot of little things that they have to agree on as well,
Yeah, so, for sure.
It'll get there. But right now, I'm just plastic bag rolling in the wind,
Mm-hmm.
hanging on.
Just a wiener boy. That's all.
Just a wiener boy.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I'm going to live out my dreams as a wiener boy with Brian.
That will be a good time. Okay, we got something kind of fun for y'all. We pulled up this article. It's called 10 Major Restaurant Trends We'll See in 2025. And Ronnie and I are going to rate these on a scale from 1 to 5. 1 being, this is a shit trend. If you serve this to me, I'm going to send it the fuck back. You probably just wouldn't order it. And 5 being like, oh, this is really cool. Let's eat it a lot this year.
You didn't describe the cream scale.
Oh, yeah. So 5 is super creamy.
Super creamy.
4 is very creamy.
Yeah.
3 is creamy.
Okay.
2 is milky. And 1 is skim. All right. So from a scale from skim to super creamy.
I think 3 is like whole milk. 2 is skim. And
1 is water?
Dry as fuck. It's powdered milk.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. Okay. That sounds good. Okay. Okay. Here's the first one, Ronnie.
Okay.
Hot honey. I'll let you go first.
Fuck. That's creamy as fuck.
Creamy as fuck, he says.
I like hot honey.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't think it's really like a new trend. I feel like hot honey has been on recipes or on menus since like 2023-ish, maybe. Or I mean, I'm sure it's been on there for a long time before that, but I feel like it's been trending since like 23.
Sure.
You know.
You make hot honey?
I haven't made it, but I would.
Yeah. You probably don't even have to heat it, huh? Or do you heat it? You got to cook it a little bit, or you just warm it up or something?
Maybe if you were just like steeping it or something.
Yeah, that sounds kind of right. No, I agree. There's a spot down here that I like a lot. We've only been once, but I really liked it. It's called Bird Pizza, and they serve hot honey with everything. Yeah, super legit. It's spicy. It's sweet. If you got something salty to put it on, it's fucking money.
Very good.
Yeah, cool. Extra creamy.
Kind of a funny side note. I was looking through an old recipe book that was laying around the restaurant, and there was a recipe in there for, I think it was called Carolina hot honey or something like that, or Carolina something. Yeah, like Carolina buffalo sauce, or I think it was like Carolina hot honey, and the ingredients was just Frank's Red Hot and honey. So I was like, I don't know what makes this Carolina, but I don't know. We've been getting some legs out of that one. That's pretty funny.
That's pretty good. Where's Frank's from?
I don't know. I have no idea.
We got to look that up. We got to give a shout out to Frank's. I mean, I'll just give a quick appreciation to Frank's, dude. I mean,
oh, it's a great sauce.
It's so good, dude. And when you get it in the pizzeria and it's 50% butter and 50% Frank's, and you fucking take a dozen of those suckers down, I mean, I don't know that it gets much better than that.
Back in the day, I worked at a pretty shitty pizza spot, and our wing sauce was just the butter in Frank's.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if Frank's makes the butter as well, or if it's that, like, I don't know, just whatever brand butter. It's oil flavored, butter flavored oil rather. And
that makes sense because
take the 2 jugs and you pour them together.
Yeah.
You just mix it up.
That makes sense because Frank's Red Hot is from Detroit, automotive industry. They probably take all that extra oil they got.
The oil.
Yeah. I think it's a different kind of oil, but, serves the narrative.
Tomato.
I hope this list is good, man. That was
Me
random.
Too. Got all of our eggs in this basket. All right, what's next on the cream scale?
Now, I haven't heard of this one.
Okay.
This is called a burn away cake. Have you heard of that, first of all?
Oh, okay, I have seen this.
We're looking at a picture of a charmeleon getting burned away. Looks like you can put some sort of code, something on top of the cake, and then you light it on fire, and then the image on the cake would burn away. and it's pretty.
Yeah, and I've seen the video of this, and when you burn, it's actually you can see that there was a separate layer on the top that has already burnt away.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do is the top one was
Charmeleon,
and they light it on fire. Nope, the top one was Charmander. That one is already burned out, and then Charmeleon, and then that paper burns off. And I think it's just like a rice paper or something on it.
Charizard's underneath it. Is that what you're saying?
Charizard, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's a cool idea. I don't think it's very practical, and it probably makes your cake taste like shit. So, I'm gonna give this a 3. It's whole milk.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
maybe even like warm whole milk. I'm like pretty.
Is that worse?
Unimpressed. Do you want to drink warm whole milk?
I don't know. I think cats like that. I think they would prefer it like that. But
a cat would probably not rate this a 3.
As a human, yeah, I'm gonna give it a skim milk.
Skim milk.
Skim milk.
Okay.
Not that good. The next one on the list is just East Asian flavors.
And that's creamy as fuck. That's a 5. And I don't really know that's. Is it a trend? Or is it just it's just
let's talk about it a little bit.
Cuisine.
I mean, like,
or is it the popularity of this cuisine?
I think they're saying that you could see some. I don't even know. Do you call Vietnam East Asia?
I don't think so. Yeah. No, I guess you would. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I would just call that like Southern Asia, but
I guess it's Southeast Asia.
Yeah. Anyway, I think they're saying that like, oh, we're doing more Vietnamese stuff in a, I don't know. I live in a world where like a lot of these like quote unquote like American fine dining restaurants are just like an amalgamation of like a bunch of different cuisines. And I think that they're saying you can see some of this stuff, derivatives from like Vietnamese cuisine in a fine dining setting. That's at least how we can maybe evaluate that.
Yeah. And I like that.
You're saying it's whipped.
Yeah, that's whipped cream.
That's whipped cream.
Yeah, stiff peaks.
I like that. Stiff peaks.
We went to Pho the other night.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And I don't know if you've had this, but you know the fresh spring rolls with like the rice paper. Mm-hmm. And there's typically like shrimp, or sometimes they're like vegetarian. It's like tofu or whatever. But this one had the like pork sausage in it, like the like what they use in the banh mi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'd never had that before, and it was really good. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Did you so when I was there, I was talking to the owners. They just opened, I think they said like 2 months earlier. Super sweet. Couldn't be any nicer. And they had a TV in there. It was playing some, Travel Channel-esque. It wasn't Travel Channel. It was, but something Travel Channel-esque of Vietnam. And they were just like going through and eating different food. And I'm not sure actually if this part was in Vietnam, but they're making some crispy like Peking duck style. And we were watching it, and they came over and they were like, you should go to this restaurant in Charlotte and have that. And so I sent it to you.
Yeah.
And you said you were on your way. And I told them my friends are going right now. So tell us all about it. How was your experience there?
That may or may not have been a fib a little bit, but I did put it on my, I got a to-do app like most people do.
Okay.
And I have a list dedicated for restaurants I want to go try in our area, and it has made it onto that list.
Cool. Is it nearby you at all?
I mean, kind of everything in Charlotte is nearby enough,
Yeah, it's not a huge city.
Yeah.
Cool.
We'll be there. We'll crush some duck. We at Ciro's in when I was in college, when I was working up in upstate New York, we did like a duck spring roll. That was really awesome. Like duck breast, and it was delicious. So good.
Love duck.
Yeah.
My favorite bird to eat, I would say.
Really good.
I don't know, chicken. I just have way more chicken. Duck, I think I enjoy it so much because you don't get to have it very often.
That's true. It's true. But it is like quite interesting. Yeah, and
It is fantastic.
I don't know. Are there other poultries that you eat medium rare? Not really.
Squab. You gonna get some?
Yeah.
I don't eat a whole lot of squab either, though, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I think you can do goose as well.
The next thing on this list is mushrooms. Seems like not a trend at all.
Definitely not a trend.
If I was giving this article a rating, it would be
powdered milk.
Whole milk at best. Mushrooms. Fucking, heavy cream. They're great.
They are great.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's on the list.
Yeah, we don't have to spend much time on that. Next thing is cold brew beverages. What's your definition of cold brew?
I mean, I don't think this is something new. I mean, people have been drinking cold brew and raving about it for years.
Yeah.
So,
street's been running with lattes.
Yeah, I love a cold brew. It's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think I don't think it's something that we got to talk about in 2025. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Nostalgia. What is this?
Nostalgia is a new word for me. I'll read a little chunk of this. Food can be an incredible source of comfort at the end of a long day. Meanwhile, nostalgia for fond memories of moments and meals long past can also provide solace during a trying time. Nostalgia blends both of those warm feelings together by offering a new take on old classics. Many restaurants nowadays are paying homage to the past while also breaking new culinary ground. We've been doing this our entire careers as well, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. It's a picture of like a bunch of Taco Bell items. Like I don't. That being said, I mean, I love that like 90s fashion and 90s, I don't know, things are back, and I guess it makes me feel old a little bit that like kids are wearing like retro shirts from that I wore when I was in third grade or whatever, but
Metallica shirt and shit. Yeah, I have seen some like 13-year-olds wearing Nirvana gear, and I'm like, yeah, it is kind of odd. But I mean, also hopefully like some of these people are wearing it just because they think it's cool. Some of them are actually listening to Nirvana, and I think that's awesome too.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, I was, it's like no different than us listening to, Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and shit.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. Did it a bunch.
Yeah, it's awesome. But, yeah, I don't know. I am nostalgic for the 90s, and it was just such a good time in history. And I don't know, 90s cartoons and fashion and music and, I don't know, just like the decor of the 90s, like going into like an old Pizza Hut or an old Taco Bell, and like I don't know, I want one of those red Pizza Hut lamps that they used to have. They were like stained glass lamps over all the tables, and then it had like a white band around it that said Pizza Hut, but it was all stained glass.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
I'm gonna want that.
We'll get you one.
And I also want a Pizza Hut salad bar in my kitchen. So
you're gonna have to staff that thing, and then food cost it and all that.
I've got a guy for that. I can definitely make that happen.
What do you give in nostalgia?
I don't really get what they're saying with it. So
powdered milk.
I don't know.
I get what you're trying to do, but
yeah, skim milk.
Fermented and pickled foods, not new.
Love these things. Definitely not new.
Who wrote this? ChatGPT.
It says name the number 7 emerging overall food trend. I mean, dude, I don't know. I feel like, especially during COVID, like I was at home watching all kinds of fermentation videos. I think a lot of people were like learning how to fucking brew beer and ferment things, and so definitely not like an emerging trend. I think people are just still doing it.
Yeah, I
So
think maybe this list is for people who maybe aren't in it, right? Like I think when we were in it, we were doing all these things, and it was just very normal, even in my entire career. Like I said, like even like in like the mid 2000s when I was like first cooking, like we were kind of like playing with old ideas and making them new. I don't think that that's new. I don't think that pickling things or fermenting things is new. That being said, that shit's creamy as fuck, dude. Give me some fucking some kimchi up in this bitch, and yeah, I love it.
well, I just remember too, like part of why it became such a trend in 2020, like during the pandemic, is because restaurants had so much stock of food that they were sitting on, and then suddenly all their restaurants shut down, and it was a way to preserve all of the things. I mean, if you weren't fermenting it or pickling it, you were freezing it or dehydrating it, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
handing it out to the staff and saying, enjoy this romaine because there's nothing I can do with it. So,
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, in that sense, like I mean, that's how these things were developed in the first place, right? I like before like really modern like refrigeration or anything. Like this is the type of things that you did with
yeah.
food to make sure it lasted a long time. Yeah, kimchi,
Yeah. Cured
kombucha,
or
they have listed
smoked
here.
or, yeah.
Yeah, um, creamy as fuck, whipped
Yeah.
cream,
Ferment
baby.
stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, here's something maybe controversial. Um, food and beverage flights.
See, I mean, that's something like when, I was living in San Diego. That's where I went to high school. So like 2007, I graduated high school. That was kind of the like really like the emergence of like the microbrew scene, like exploded in Southern California. It was kind of like the epicenter of it. Like Stone Brewing was in Southern California in San Diego, and they were kind of like one of like the first like big ones that I think came out onto the scene. But like that was something that everybody was doing back then. Do you ever order a beverage flight? No,
Never, never,
no.
ever. It's too much.
If anything, I feel like it's something that has died because I feel like when like microbrews were on the rise and all these breweries were popping up and they had all these different crazy beers, it was a way to try everything. Now everybody's had everything, and everyone's kind of figured out what they like already.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want your farmhouse ale next to a stout, next to a sour, next to an IPA.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know, when I'm enjoying a meal, it's not really what I'm there for. I mean, that being said, like I am a person who likes to try a bunch of stuff. So if you're kind of bar hopping and you're, maybe you're going to get an appetizer and it's like a really cool bar program, then it could be interesting. Or if you're going to maybe like like a wine region or something, right? And you're in like, even like the Hudson Valley or Napa or something like that. Like, oh, like there's some worth it probably to try a couple things.
Yeah,
But to your point, like not something that I would typically do.
it does say according to Yelp, uh, searches for egg flights have increased by 496%. I don't know what an egg flight is, and I don't know, I don't know why people are so ravenously searching for it. But
A cookie flight.
and also if it's up, 500%, it's probably because nobody had ever searched egg and flight in the same sentence before, and then suddenly a couple people did, and
Right.
it only took a few people for that percentage to go up.
Right. I mean, if one person did and then 5 people did, then
Yeah,
it's
that's
up 500%. Okay.
500%.
Cool. Yeah.
So
I'm with you. Egg flights. That'd be
I
odd.
don't even know what that means.
Yeah. What are we talking about? Like a sunny side next to a poach next to. All right. Did you give that a rating? I'm gonna give that whole
That
milk.
sucks. That I'm gonna give it. That's powdered milk.
Okay.
It's dry as fuck.
That's fair. Dry as fuck. Um, Mocktails.
I'm with it. I like it.
Yeah.
I
Me too.
do think that non-alcoholic beverages are on the rise. I think and I personally haven't had many of them, but I know there's a company, Athletic Brewing, that they have garnered a pretty good following, and they have a bunch of different brews. Um, yeah, I like it. I'm into it.
Yeah. And like,
Personally, am I going to order one? Probably no. I mean, I have, but yeah, it's not really something that I'm seeking. But yeah, I like it.
yeah. And like, I don't know, a lot of times you don't need an alcoholic beverage for whatever. Now, at the same time, 2025, you go out and order a mocktail, you're probably spending $12.
Yeah,
That that could be pretty dry.
yeah. Actually,
Um,
when we were in Maui, um, we were in. I talked a little bit about that restaurant that we went to. They had just reopened in Lahaina after the fires, and so they didn't have their liquor license back up yet, and so they had a bar there. You know, they'd only been open for a short period of time. I think maybe they opened that week even. So they had a bar in there that they, are intending to eventually serve alcohol, and I think that probably by now they do. But at the time, they didn't have their liquor license yet, so they were only serving mocktails. And it was some kind of mango juice, and it was like $15-$16 for a mango something. It was delicious, but yeah, definitely pricey. I mean, yeah, if I'm spending $16 on a drink, it's gonna have booze in it. I'll tell you that right now.
yeah. And if we expand that idea from like a mocktail just to I mean, dude, some of the best like things that I like drank in Thailand were non-alcoholic beverages, you know?
Yeah,
Get your
definitely.
little boba, get your like street coffee, get like, some fun stuff like that. Those
Yeah,
all
girl
play.
DD.
Yeah. I'll go heavy cream on no
Yeah,
alcoholic,
yeah, I like
non-alcoholic
it.
beverages.
I'll go heavy cream.
Last one on their list. This isn't very exciting, but very important. Sustainable, locally forced, locally sourced ingredients.
Yeah, that's a 5.
Yeah,
That's whipped cream.
stiff peaks. Might be
Stiff peaks.
might be butter, honestly.
Yeah,
Um, it's really hard to do. I mean, it's really hard if you're just a home cook to get locally sourced ingredients. I think like a lot of the stuff that we consume from the grocery store is kind of gross. I mean, even the stuff I buy stuff from the grocery store and it's from all over the world. And how long did it take to get there? And how did it get ripened? Because if it took 10 days to get there, it probably will, like it's not just like just naturally ripened on the vine, a tomato, for example, and then it gets to you and it's still good to eat. Well, if it took 10 days to get to Charlotte and it's sitting on the display at Food Lion and it's red and ready to eat, something weird happened there, right? They had to modify either the ripening process or the tomato itself to be able to do that. So this stuff is, I mean, having locally sourced ingredients is super important, not only for your health, but for flavor, for everything, and just
your local economy too. I mean,
yeah. When you
yeah,
taste a pepper that's like either you grew it or someone down the street grew it, you're like, oh, this is what a pepper is supposed to taste like. That's good.
yeah. I mean, it's the same way with tomatoes, right? I think that there's so many people that dislike tomatoes because the only tomato that they ever get is that pale, gross, watery tomato that they
Mealy.
get on their Burger King Whopper or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like a good tomato is just so good. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah. I mean, that's butter for me. For those following along, we added a number 6, which is butter, which is more whipped than whipped cream.
Mm.
Yeah, it's butter. It's awesome.
Yeah, we every once in a while we do like to go out to Whole Foods or something and definitely splurge a little bit more on some quality ingredients. And I do feel like when we do that, we consume everything that we buy because you spent more on it, but also you're excited to eat it because it's really good quality. You know, whether it's the chicken or the veggies or whatever that we bought. But last time we bought some really nice eggs, and I know you're thinking in this climate, eggs? Yeah, we bought some nice eggs. But they were like $7.99 for a 12 pack, which is kind of expensive, but eggs are expensive in general right now. And these ones, they were, locally grown, like, or harvested, and there's some new stamp on them, and it's a new certification. And Rochelle would tell you more about it because she knows all about it. But it's a stamp for like regenerative agriculture farms that it's just a different way of growing food in a restorative way to the soil. They rotate their crops and they plant things that benefit the soil instead of what we do most of this country, like mono agriculture, where you're just they plant Monsanto corn that is resistant to all these different chemical fertilizers and weed killers and insecticides, and it just kills the land. And the only thing that can grow there is that seed. So it's kind of a cool thing. But the eggs were some of the best eggs I've ever had.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. The yolk was super orange and luscious, as opposed to in the white membrane, it wasn't watery. A lot of times you get eggs and you crack it, and it's like super loose and watery, or the shell is like very, very thin and shatters. Like these shells were super thick, were like really vibrant. And to me, that's worth it to spend the extra bucks there.
Yeah. I mean, when you get a good egg, you can tell pretty quickly because there's the three parts of the egg just for, there's the loose albumin, there's the thick albumin, and there's the yolk. And like on a really good egg, there should be very little of the loose albumin. It should be like almost all that like thick part of the egg white.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, like the yolk is more orange. It's also like stands a little taller.
Mm-hmm.
It's way more flavorful, and yeah, it's awesome.
And when you crack the egg into the pan, it kind of stays together a little bit more. Like when you have like a shitty egg with like the loose like a lot of the loose albumin, and it just like fills out your entire pan, and just like spreads out everywhere. And yeah, definitely, in my opinion, it was worth it. And we made some good old fashioned bodega style sandwich, bacon, egg, and cheese, and it was solid. It's really good.
Nice.
Actually, it inspired us to put a bodega style bacon, egg, and cheese on the new menu at the food hall. So
let's go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Got a hard roll?
Yep. Working on getting a hard roll. Is a hard roll and a Kaiser roll, isn't that kind of the same thing?
I think so. I mean, to me it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would call them the same. So yeah, that concludes our ratings of this article of food trends that aren't food trends. So the article, probably written by AI, gets a dry as fuck.
Yeah, it's pretty
powdered
dry.
egg white. I said powdered egg whites, powdered milk. But yeah, I mean, good to get some thoughts out about sustainability, of course. Shout out to the Biggest Little Farm, that documentary. So good, dude. I watch that. I might watch that again tonight.
Yeah.
Gets into kind of the story is kind of they like purchase farmland in a place where it was all monocrops, and they turn it into this ultra sustainable farm where they have diversified crops and animals, and they're doing really clever things because they're solving problems with other sustainable food sources. So
yeah,
really worth checking out. I couldn't recommend it enough.
Yeah, it's a great documentary. It's pretty cool. That won't go too into it, but there's a part in the documentary where they're growing citrus, and their citrus groves are just being like completely overrun by snails. Like the most insane amount of snails that I've ever seen, where the like farm workers are out there with like 5-gallon buckets, and they're like scraping all these snails off the trees, and they're filling up whole 5-gallon buckets at a time, and they like can't even keep they're not even close to keeping up with the amount of snails that are on these trees. And then they don't want to use any kind of insecticides or any kind of killers, so they discover that ducks love to eat snails, and so they released a shitload of ducks into the field, and the ducks just start going to town on all these snails. It's awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole operation. It's like every problem gets solved by some other thing that's going to produce for their farm in some way. Very cool.
Yep, very cool. Check it out. Biggest little farm, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think it's that time.
What are you? Idiot.
You stupid idiot!
I'm an idiot sandwich.
You're an idiot!
Of all the idiots, you stand alone.
It's the idiot sandwich.
You want to start?
I can start. I have one off Reddit.
Okay.
That's funny. And this is something that I think we've all done at a time, so this will be a good laugh. I was craving my mom's chicken enchilada soup, so I asked her for the recipe, and she sent me a picture of said recipe. It was handwritten from someone at work and hardly legible, FYI. So I go to the store and source the ingredients. I even had to go to a different store to get the chayote, which is a must-have per the recipe. So I get home and get all the ingredients ready for the next day to put in the crock pot. Start the crock pot up before I leave for work, and I'm salivating all day thinking about eating the soup. I get home and it smells divine, all caps. Just like Mom makes. I can hardly wait. I've been telling my husband how good it is. I take one bite and it's so spicy, I literally couldn't even swallow it. I'm rereading the recipe over and over and over, and I finally found it. Next to where it says can of chipotle peppers and adobo, in much smaller letters and in parentheses, it says to taste. I added the entire can. So I called my friend who's Hispanic and tell her, and she can't even stop laughing. Even her mom is laughing at this point. And her mom tells me that one can last her weeks. Obviously, we know that. Tried to dilute the soup, tried to add sour cream. I tried it all, but it was a lost soup. It's something I've done a lot. It's even can be a fallacy of being comfortable in the kitchen, of like when you're like so comfortable, you're like, I'm just gonna eyeball this ingredient, and I'm not gonna, like, for example, for like seasoning, right? Like sometimes you're like, I can eyeball this, and you just throw a bunch of salt in this thing, and instead of like just being cautious and then having to taste it twice, you're like, I think I got this, and I throw it all in, and then turns out you finish your dish and you taste it and it's super salty. And so I think like the more comfortable you are, that can happen pretty often. This is kind of a different scenario, but either way, we've all screwed up recipes because we've added too much of X. So, but that is a funny one, and I'm sad that she wasted the entire soup, but a lesson has been learned.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, a lot of times that'll happen at home when you're like, especially at home, because you buy something and it's, you're only supposed to use like half of the can or something, and you're like, well, what am I going to do? Just throw the rest of this away?
Mm-hmm.
And then you, against your better judgment, you just put it all in there. And then at the end, you're like, there's way too much of whatever. So, yeah, been there. My idiot sandwich is Rochelle told me the story before we came on here. When she was first starting out as a server, she was working at this restaurant, and she was carrying a full tray of drinks to this table. Like they were sitting in a booth, like one of like the big round booths, and she's trying to divvy out their waters and all their beverages as well, so their beers and everything. And she's new; she's not very comfortable carrying a tray, and she's reaching over, and with her boob knocks over all the beers and waters, and it poured over an infant that was sitting at the edge. And she said that thankfully the waterfall poured off the tray and over the baby, and not actually onto the baby, but the baby was like underneath the waterfall. But I guess she said that the table must have been like all industry folks, and they just thought it was hilarious, so she got away with one. But if it was a table of Karens, it would have been real bad. So
For sure.
Idiot sandwich to Rochelle. So thanks for the story.
Congratulations.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And now it's time to get on the school bus. This is the whipped cream sandwich school for cooks don't cook good.
How do you do it? Let me hit you with some knowledge. This is the moment we've all been waiting for.
Woo!
Woo! Woo! Oh,
I got a good one.
okay.
We know what quick breads are? Quick little recap. Quick breads are muffins, banana bread, scones, anything that doesn't have yeast as the leavener. Anything you use like baking powder or baking soda for, just for the listener. A lot of times, or some of these recipes, there's a few different ways to get butter into those recipes, and one of them is the cut-in method. And typically you like dice up some butter, and then the recipe usually says like use your hands and mix it with the flour and make it into pea-shaped sizes. It's kind of the general recipe, right? That's kind of what they'll tell you.
Yep.
I have a tip here of taking cold butter and running that over on a cheese grater. Throw that in. It's already what you need.
Yeah.
It's already kind of cut in. You throw that right into your flour or all your dry ingredients, and that's a really good way to get your butter in without wasting too much time. And also, it's just a fucking pain in the ass when you have like large diced pieces of butter and you're trying to fucking make that into like pea-sized pieces. So I think that's a pretty good one, and I almost forgot about that one. That's super solid though.
Yeah, it's a really good one. We make biscuits at work, and I'm not a fan. Don't really enjoy doing it at all, actually. And if you're working in smaller batches, you can use the Roboku and just like pulse it to break it up. But if you're making like what we like to do is make a big 22 quart, or I guess we don't even have a 22 quart. We have an 18 quart as our biggest Cambro. But make like a full 18 quart of your dry mix. And then that way, when you come in the morning, all you got to do is add your buttermilk and fold them. So when you're doing it in that quantity, if you're doing it in the Roboku, like one, little batch at a time, like you're going to be there all day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good tip.
Thank you. What you got?
I've got a tip about cooking fish. I think that a lot of people, I think most people just don't cook fish very often. So this tip that I have is when you're cooking a piece of fish, and it could be skin on or off, but particularly if you're doing a skin on piece, because you want a nice crispy skin. So this is especially important, but same technique for either. You don't need a screaming hot pan to cook a piece of fish to get crispy skin. Instead, hot pan, but skin side down, and then leave it be. Sometimes your skin will kind of want to curl. I think especially if the pan's too hot. I don't know anyway. You can put light pressure on the fish with your fish spatula or something like that to keep it from curling until it starts to crisp. But don't flip your fish. I would let it go a good like 80% of the way through, and then flip your fish just to finish it off the last couple seconds, especially if you're looking for, say you're cooking a salmon and you want, maybe you would even cook it less, so 60% of the way through, and then flip that fish and just let it kind of finish up what you're doing. But yeah, I think a lot of people, they flip their fish way too early. Also, your fish will let you know if it's ready to flip. If you're cooking with skin on and your fish doesn't want to flip, it's not ready to flip. So don't even try scraping it up, because you're just going to ruin your skin.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. We experimented at school once because a buddy told me about it, where you take like a big piece of fish, maybe like a piece of salmon or something thick, boy, like that. Something, I mean, all the things that you're going to cook skin on aren't like really like the thin boys anyway. But instead of even flipping them at all, if you start cold and you and do it over like low medium heat, and then just butter baste that sucker the entire time, it'll be like fully cooked through, and like not even have to flip it at all. Just roll it over and throw it onto a plate. And that can be a pretty cool way to do it too. Because it is tricky, and I do think that that's a common. I think the advice you get for cooking a piece of fish is you need the screaming hot pan. So I think that that's like a common mistake, because I think that the information out there is telling people that you need this insanely hot pan. I also like putting even a little more oil than they recommend. I think like it shouldn't be like pan fried, but like they kind of say like put the bare minimum amount of oil that you possibly can. I think a little more than that is pretty helpful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's kind of a similar, I mean, yes and no, but like as far as like the cold pan and like low to medium heat, if you're cooking like a skin on duck breast, you want the same thing, except that you do with a dry pan, because there's so much fat that renders off of the duck skin that it's going to be swimming in duck fat by the time it's done anyways.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing where you're cooking it skin side down, and you're not flipping it at all, really. Like a lot of times, I mean, when I would cook it, I guess Plum Check was the last time that we did it in a pan, because at Lulu's it was over live coals. But in the pan, and same thing, I would cook it probably a good 70%, 80% of the way through, and then maybe throw it in the oven, still skin side down, for the last 2 minutes, like not long, and then you're taking it out and just letting it rest. So
it's great.
Yeah.
We love it.
You don't need a screaming hot pan all the time.
Yeah. For meat, I mean, that's kind of where you're going to get when you like need to do browning, maybe you have some short ribs and you like want to get them super dark brown to like get that like Maillard reaction and get that flavor out. That's where the screaming hot pan is most important.
Yeah. Cool. Very good. Well, I hope you all learned something.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. And, like, follow, subscribe, share with your friends. whippedcreamsalmon@gmail.com. Hit us up with your idiot sandwiches. Hit us up with some tips. Or just say hi. We love you. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, y'all. Love you. Stay creamy.
Stay creamy. Peace.